Welcome to Conversations with Verdel Jones. I'm your host, Verdel Jones. And being an educator at heart, I'm dedicated to sharing conversations that inform and enlighten in the hopes that you learn something you may not have known. I am so excited that you decided to join us today, and we are going to have an awesome show. I want to remind everyone to please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you will not miss an episode of Conversations with Verdel Jones. We also have mugs. So if you would like to be part of the show, you can go to my website at verdeljones.com and pick up your mug today. So let's get started for a wonderful show. Thanks again for joining us. This is our sixth season of Conversations with Verdel Jones. If you're interested in supporting quality content or you want to grow your brand, make sure you visit our website at verdeljones.com to get more information on how to be a sponsor or advertise on our show. Welcome back to Conversations with Verdel Jones. I am so excited to welcome our next guest to the show. So we have Daniel O'Shea, and he's the executive director for Maureen's Haven, which is a homeless outreach here on Long Island. So we're going to be talking to him a little bit about what Maureen's Haven is about and how individuals can help and who they actually provide services for. So we are so excited to have him here. So without further ado, let me welcome in Dan.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being a guest. We had met through Rudy Breedy, who is, he runs Rude Rangers TV and entertainment, and he had introduced us. And through that introduction, I wanted to make sure that individuals knew what Maureen's Haven is about and what you do and how people can support. So what is Maureen's Haven?
Sure. So Maureen's Haven Homeless Outreach is the only agency actually on the east end of Suffolk County that's solely dedicated to the homeless community. So we provide a number of services to support the homeless on the East End, and year round we operate the day center, which we call the K-Kidder Achievement Center, which is based in Riverhead, and in that building there in that facility, guests have access to the basic essentials. They can get out of the cold or out of the heat when it's really warm. They have access to food, clothing. More importantly, they have access to support services and case management, and that's really where a lot of the work goes into, is helping these folks kind of moving forward to the next step. So we spend a lot of time case managing folks and trying to connect them with the appropriate levels of services and trying to help them achieve their immediate goals. And then one thing that Maureen's Haven is most known for is for 6 months out of the year in the wintertime, we run an emergency winter shelter program. And that started November 1st. And we do that in partnership with houses of worship. And these houses of worship serve as the physical host sites. So on a nightly basis, guests will come to the Riverhead location. We screen them and we do any necessary intakes. And then we provide the transportation to the assigned host site for that evening. Traditionally, it's pretty much a volunteer-run program, the actual overnights. However, with COVID, that's made things a little bit more interesting. But, as of now, we're operating our emergency winter shelter program, and we do that 7 days a week.
Wow. So you work with these houses of worship to be able to assist individuals that come to you for assistance?
Sort of. So we have partnerships with so many congregations out on the East End, and it's not only congregations; it's civic associations, it's youth groups, it's businesses, it's individuals. The houses of worship, they serve again as the physical host site. Okay. So they're the ones that are we're going to use their facilities to serve the meals or even cook the meals. Oftentimes, the volunteers will set up the air mattresses and the bedding, and then they'll help throughout the course of the evening, and then they'll help us clean up in the morning, and then Maureen's Haven provides the transportation back. It is a volunteer-driven program, but it's all part of Maureen's Haven. Okay. So, we run it, we're the official agency, managing it. And like I mentioned, this year, due to COVID, a lot of the volunteers are very hesitant or reluctant to help out in that kind of a capacity. Right. So this year we still have a fair amount of volunteers supporting the program, but when it comes to the actual being on site at the host site with the guests, that's been a little bit of a challenge, and a lot of that is falling back onto Maureen's Haven and Maureen's Haven staff.
So, individuals, I don't think a lot of people understand the struggle that people may have with homelessness. So can you kind of unpack that a little bit for people, just to let them know that it is a thing, and how you're able to help them,
Sure.
through it.
Sure. Well, homelessness is certainly a very real challenge, and I don't think anybody chooses to be homeless. There certainly are people that are chronically homeless that may have mental illness, and that is where they feel most comfortable, is in their own environments and in creating safety areas for themselves. But with that said, a lot of folks, they just struggle with whether it is hard times financially, or a lot of folks do unfortunately struggle with substance abuse and alcohol abuse. And I do have to say, a lot of my population, I think a lot of the homeless population in general, does struggle with mental illness. So we deal with a lot of those factors, and sometimes multiple factors, when we're trying to help our guests. So our approach is that we really try to look at the individual and
Right.
see what is the best way we could help them meet that immediate need.
Mm.
So sometimes it might be, well, getting them to an apartment and helping them find a job and getting a resume and getting their car back on the road. Other times it's just simply getting somebody to a doctor's office so they can get, their medications checked, or helping somebody get into a substance abuse program.
Wow. So have you seen, with COVID, have you seen an increase in the number of people that really need your support?
Yes, I have.
Mm.
It certainly has been an interesting time because you do have a number of social services out there that are doing the best that they can to kind of step up. But I think as this progresses, it certainly is putting a strain on all of the systems out
Mm.
there. So for us right now, especially in the wintertime, one, we're the only private shelter operating in Suffolk County right now. In the past, there would have been other similar type programs further
Mhm.
up Island, say in Huntington. There would have been maybe a smaller church doing a weekend, or every other Thursday. This year, unfortunately, none of those shelter programs are coming on board. So it really is just
Wow.
Maureen's Haven or the county.
Wow.
But like I said, the system is strained. So we are seeing, an increase of people who just, one, they're scared to go into a shelter system through the county. It can be a little daunting, especially with COVID. I do see, and I am seeing now, a significant increase in the number of people that are over 55,
Wow.
which is something we've seen that a couple of years in a row. With COVID, there are challenges again within the system, so it's constantly been a learning curve as we go through. And
Who actually do you serve? Is it just adults? Is it children? Because you have a lot of, mothers with young children who could fall into that, into that
sure.
demographic as well. So who do you serve?
Sure. So, in our shelter program, they need to be
Hmm.
adults only, 18 and over. But with that said, in my day center and with our outreach efforts, because we do a lot of outreach, and then my case manager, I have a social worker. If anybody needed assistance, whether they were on site or whether they were using the shelter, whether they were sitting in a car in Medford, we would be trying to help coordinate that for them. Our program is 18 and over adults, but again, when that phone rings, we're going to do our best, if not to provide direct assistance, provide enough guidance to get them to the services that they need.
Got it. Got it. So how do you sustain this? Because, with yeah,
Uh,
with helping individuals in this manner, and really, you have volunteers that are there to help, but volunteers can't sustain financially what you need to do. So how do you sustain the funding that you need to provide this service?
sure. And what I think is really important here is that, we are a small private nonprofit. So we're,
Mm.
probably less than 25 to 20 to 25% of my annual operating budget comes from government sources. So
Okay.
that would be the county or the local towns. And we're not talking a lot of money.
Mhm.
So, and all of our services are free. So we're
Mhm.
not asking a person to come in if they have a Medicaid, if they have insurance, or they have a copay. There's never any kind of financial obligation for our guests.
Mhm.
Because of that, we're not billing Medicaid. We're not billing the county. We don't bill the county per night, per bed.
Mhm.
So it's a struggle. So for the
Mhm.
other 75 to 80% of the funding that we rely on to operate Maureen's Haven, that comes from fundraising, private donations,
Wow.
foundations. I spend a lot of time writing grants and trying to get support from wherever I can get it. Um, for the months of November and December, we are doing. Typically, we would have done a winter event. We would have had a
Mhm.
nice, cocktail party kind of
Gala.
thing. Not this year,
Right.
but this year we're doing a media campaign, and we're calling it the 10 by 61, and we're hoping to get 10 donations every day for the next 61 days for the month of November and December.
Okay.
And so we're doing a postcard, we're doing an appeal letter, we're doing quite a bit of media,
Nice.
the social media kind of approach. We're just trying to continue to get the word out there because, again, having a fundraising event is in a traditional sense is not going to be happening this year.
Right.
To your point, it really is, pleading to people's good heart and good natureness for them to come out and help us, whether it is writing a check or volunteering as an overnight, or even helping us with a coat
Mhm.
drive or a sock drive. Those things go a long way.
Hmm.
When I have folks, especially this time of year, they're doing, say, a clothing drive, and they're getting new socks and new underwear.
Right.
That's amazing to us because that's stuff we don't have to buy.
Right.
If I don't
Okay.
have socks and underwear, then I got to buy the socks
Right.
and underwear.
So
So
it's not always just that fine money per se, but that helps. But it could be new things for to help people.
right. This time of year, I know as winter comes, where everybody's going to struggle with paper products.
Mhm. Yes.
So, the same thing with us. I have 20, 30 people using my day center each day. You can imagine how much toilet paper we go through.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
So that's a big thing right now. As winter
It sure
approaches.
is.
And it's a lot. It's a lot of those little things. It's helping with say purchase hand sanitizers or um, feminine products. I mean, it's those things that you don't
Mhm.
necessarily think of that at
Right.
the end of the day we might actually have to spend money on, but
Yeah.
that's stuff that our guests really need. So that stuff goes a long, long way.
That's good. That's great to know because a lot of people might not know what the amount of a check they can write, is enough. So I think letting people know that there are toiletries that can be donated or socks that can be donated, I think really lends itself to have a lot of people wanting to participate and help.
And what I do suggest is that if anybody is interested in doing, any kind of donations,
Mhm.
or any kind of say fundraiser, or say a donation drive, they have a Girl Scout troop or the High School
Mhm.
Honor Society. It might not be a bad idea to reach out to us first because we may have
Right.
a specific need at that time. Right now I may have a ton of socks, but I need hats and gloves, or
Right.
so it all depends, and the time of year.
Mhm.
Winter time, certainly we need the winter clothes, but then in the summertime, it's like, oh, we need shorts and t-shirts
Right.
and
Right.
just basic spring jackets.
Mhm.
So it
So
those
So how can people reach out to you to make a donation or to find out what you actually need and how they can support?
Sure. Well, we have a basic wish list and a donation page on our website, which is www.maureenshaven.org. And there you'll find everything about our programs. You'll find, again, our wish list and our needs. You'll see some of our participating houses of worship, and as well as the ways that you can give, you can donate, whether it's financially or you can contact us through that through the website as well. You can also call my office, which is 631-727-6831, and pretty much anybody in the office would be able to help you. I'm almost always available, and Stacy Stanzioni, she's my program manager. She does a fantastic job coordinating these efforts. So, anybody either one of us would be willing to chat and help you plan with something like that.
Awesome, awesome. I want to thank you so much for the work that you're doing to support individuals that are struggling with homelessness. In my district, I am the McKinney-Vento liaison, so I know that on the surface, sometimes people think, you're not homeless, or they have all these ideas about what homelessness is. So I really, really appreciate the work that you're doing in helping individuals. It's very
Well,
commendable.
well,
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I would, I would, be at a loss to not mention it's not only the work that I do, it's also the
Mhm.
volunteers, the supporters. I have a tremendous staff. I have to give it to my staff when the pandemic hit. Myself and my staff, we didn't stop. If anything, we stepped up our operations. We continued to operate 7 days a week. We started doing outreach and a weekend lunch program. So, my staff has been doing an amazing job, and I can't really say enough for them. And more importantly, the supporters and the volunteers. I have to thank them. They, without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much, Dan,
Well,
for
thank you.
being a guest and sharing information about Maureen's Haven. So we will be right back in a little bit. Thank you for watching Conversations with Verdel Jones. Welcome back to Conversations with Verdel Jones. I am so excited. We have an awesome guest coming up next. We have Anissa Stewart, and she is an independent gospel recording artist, a songwriter, evangelist, teacher, actress, and content editor. So I'm just so happy that she is joining us today. We have a lot to talk about, so I want to bring her in right away. So I want to welcome in Anissa. Hey, Anissa.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome. Awesome today.
So I just have to let everybody know that I have known Anissa since, I don't know, maybe even first grade. I don't know.
Like first grade.
We've known each other since, O'Neill School.
Yep.
Also growing up at, Hope Missionary Baptist Church.
Right. And our parents either went to school together or like my mom knew your dad. Remember?
Right.
We connected. So that was.
That's right. That's right. I forgot all about that. Right. Your uncles and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So there was a lot of connection there. And I'm just so happy that you are a guest and we're going to talk about everything that's going on. I'm also so proud of my CI folks because we're doing big things and I'm just so happy about that.
I wanted to interrupt and say I'm proud of you too. To see you grow all these years and to become the woman that you are and the talent that you have. I'm proud of you as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we're going to talk about your singing career because I knew you could sing, but I didn't know you could sing. So we're going to talk about that as well. So share with everybody about your journey. Tell me a little bit about how you got started and what you do as a music artist.
Well, I actually have been singing since I was 4 years old. And I actually sang at my preschool graduation. I remember that. I say that's when I got my debut because I sang at the graduation. But I actually got it started singing at my grandfather's church at Hope Missionary Baptist Church. And I remember singing my first church solo at 8 years old. They called me up to sing or let me sing. I think I might have begged to sing and they let me sing. And I made up the words as I went along, didn't know the words. My aunt was a choir director. My grandfather sang. And so there was music always in the house. And so I remember this one song called Christians, Where's Your Faith in God by James Cleveland, but I didn't know all the words. But I decided I was going to make up my own words. And that was my start as a singer, songwriter, because the people enjoyed it. And I remember even saying, God is like a wall you cannot see, but he's there. And that's not in the song, but it was in my song. And so it worked.
I love that.
So that's how I got started. That musical background, singing with Mary Sharp.
Oh, yes.
With the choir.
Yep.
And then my aunt, Sheila, she was a choir director in the church that I actually continued to grow up in.
Okay.
And pushed me forward with leading songs. And my cousin, who was the pastor at the time, Bishop Stanford Stewart, he wanted me to sing before he would speak. So I was like the sermonic soloist. Didn't know I was in training for what I'd be doing for the rest of my life.
Right.
And I would always sing solos before that. So I've always wanted to record. I've always wanted to be in show business, as they say. But it just took a little longer for me to have that happen for me.
Yes, and you have a beautiful, beautiful voice. So tell us about how that's evolved through the years. You have albums and all of that. So just share a little bit about that.
Sure. Like I said, I've always wanted to record. I've written songs. I've had songs waiting for an opportunity. I signed with independent labels, but nothing really panned out until I turned 42 years old. And I went to try to be a background singer for this group they were auditioning for background singers, and they asked me, they said, have you ever thought about being a singer yourself? And I said, think about it. I've had material, I've wanted to, and they sewed into me. They didn't charge me anything to make my first CD called Anissa's 42nd Chapter, and I was 42 years old. And so that kind of worked together with the 42nd chapter of Job, that's in the Bible, where he was restored and everything that he had lost, he was given double for his trouble. So I thought it was like a self-prophecy that all these years, being 18 and 19 and 20, wanting to record, and it didn't happen for me until I was 42.
Wow.
You know, even acting, the acting didn't start until that same time. I've always wanted to do musicals, and it just didn't happen until I was 42. So instead of playing the teenagers and sing, I ended up playing the mother.
Right.
Better late than never,
Right.
And it worked out because my first play that I was in, they allowed me to sing my original song from my first CD called Woman of Standard. And so I was able to sing it to the main characters. And that was like a wonderful experience. And it happened again. Another playwright who knew nothing about that heard my music and wrote that song wrote me into the play.
Wow.
Singing the same song. It doesn't matter how old you are, unless you're 6 feet under, it's not over till it's over.
That's
because
right.
Sarah was 80 years old when she conceived a child. So I call it my Sarah experience.
Yes. It's true, because we do get caught up in that. I'm too old, that time has passed me by. But as long as you have breath, go for it, especially if it's a passion and dream of yours. You just have to be persistent,
Definitely.
So fast forward, so that was when you were 42, and I don't want to give away your age,
I'm
but
51.
Okay.
I'll give it away.
Me too. I'm 51 also.
So 9 years later, here we are.
Right. You've come out with more albums since then, correct?
Right. Since then, I released a single. There was a single called This Joy. Let me get my ring light anyway. This Joy. And then I released another single in 2017 called Live Through Me. And then I was blessed to connect with my producer of the original project back in, I did that one, Anissa's 42nd Chapter was 2011. Here, 2020, I released my new project called Restoration. And this really is so profound in terms of restoration, not knowing that I was going to release this at the time when we need restoration. So if you look at my cover, it represents, I'm trying to get the light, this side is barren, gray, but this side is the colorful side. And this represents life being brought back into me. My story is so much has happened to me where I felt like giving up, where I was homeless at one point. I was carless, repossessed car, and living in a hotel. And I was a teacher still. And I had just had a baby. And this was all after the 42nd chapter. So I was like, God, what is
going on?
42nd chapter? What? This wasn't supposed to be happening.
Wow.
I thought this was going to be the time where nothing else. You kind of get this mindset of I've suffered so long.
Right.
Now's my time not to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he has his own plan, and it birthed out of me some strength. It birthed out of me some faith. It drew my family together. And the amazing thing is, like I said, this represents change. And out of that experience, not wanting to live, I wasn't stupid enough to want to kill myself.
Right.
But living in that hotel, I don't want to get choked up. I'm sorry. I didn't want to wake up because I did not want to deal with my reality at the time, not knowing how to get out of it, having the money to move, but no open door until it was a 2-week stay turned into a 5-month stay. But let me tell you the significance of that. After that period of time, and once it's like once that season was over, the same week in November, I drove my new car to my new apartment, and my family and I moved in November, the first week in November. Well, fast forward 7 years.
Right.
Last week, I drove myself and my family to my new home. I was blessed in the midst of a pandemic to become a homeowner for the first time.
Congratulations.
In the same week of November.
Something?
And I was working on that house, trying to find a house for 5 months. So we started in June, and it didn't happen until November, the same week as it did 7 years ago.
Wow.
So I am in awe.
Yeah.
I have to tell that story because it was nothing but God that opened that door in the midst of a pandemic. It's just amazing to me.
That is amazing.
I am really grateful. But, like I said, the song or the CD Restoration was released right before the pandemic, right before the racial injustice, all of that transpired with George Floyd and all of that. And from there, someone, because of racial relations and tension, a pastor who had just changed his membership to join a Caucasian pastor, wanted to use my song Restoration for a Zoom or a StreamYard presentation that they were doing. So they asked to use the song. Someone who used to work for CNN made a video for it, and you can see it now on YouTube. I didn't have to pay for it.
Wow.
It is professionally done. And it goes, I said, you are
only but you. That's right.
Let me just go for the ride. Look, they say, Jesus, take the wheel.
Right.
I don't want to drive. I'm like, I'm in the passenger seat. Like,
wow.
Whatever you're doing in the season.
Okay. That is awesome. That is awesome. So, I mean, and you're continuing, you're going. You are now part of a Netflix show called Voices of Fire. So, I mean, when I saw, I'm like, what? She is doing it. She's doing it. I'm so proud of her. Okay. How did that come about?
That's what through the plays that I had done, I had connected with a comedian here in the DMV area, and her name is Tanya Lewis, comedian Tanya Lewis, and she made me a director of her play. I acted in her play, so we became good friends. And she saw an ad that Pharrell had put out looking for singers from the DMV area, and she forwarded the information to me. I think I needed to submit it like a day before the deadline. And I went to my uncle's church. Shout out to Bishop. Actually, Reverend Loving's youngest son is my pastor and my uncle.
Okay.
I said, can I stay in the church after something? I recorded my audition video and I sent it in. A week later, they invited me to come to audition. So you see that little audition process. And I auditioned, and out of 3,000 submissions, I was chosen to be the 300 that were invited to come to Norfolk, Virginia to audition. And my husband and I, we packed up the car and we went down to Virginia in July of last year. And I did the audition, and then I received an invitation to come be a part of the production. And so I was like, this kind of stuff doesn't happen to me, And so again, I wanted to do like American Idol or, you see The Voice or those other shows. But because of my genre, I tend to pull back, and then it became an issue of my age. And so this was a great opportunity because they were looking for gospel singers or for singers for a choir. So I said, okay, this seems down my alley. And I went there, and it was a great experience. I had gotten a solo too. I got that was on the cutting room floor.
Okay. That's what happens, right?
So one day I won't be on the cutting room floor. But I got, that was an awesome experience to even be selected out of, all those voices to be chosen. They only had a few slots for solo parts, and I was able to get one, even though, like I said, it didn't make it to
That's
the show.
all right. That's all right. The next one, right? The next one.
Next one.
Right.
Maybe I make my own show.
That's right. That's right.
Somebody will see this and they'll want to give me a show.
That's right.
But it was a great experience, and I met some wonderful people.
Mhm.
And one of the judges happened to be a mentor of mine because I had moved to Virginia. My oldest son was born in Virginia, and I used to sing in Peggy Britt's choir, who you'll see on the show.
Mhm.
So when she saw me, she was like, and
Oh.
so I didn't even know. She was like, "I'm so glad you didn't tell me you were coming. I'm so glad." So I just was glad to be able to connect with her again, and then to meet Pharrell's uncle. And we didn't meet Pharrell until the day of the concert that you'll see at the end
Okay.
of Netflix. So to be able to take a picture with him and just to be a part of it, like I said, no matter how great or small, someone said you have to celebrate the small victories as well. So,
It's like, how can people watch it?
it just came out yesterday.
Oh, awesome.
I'm excited about this interview because
Awesome.
it's 6 series. It's a series, excuse me, with 6 episodes.
Okay.
And so each episode is 30 minutes long. They really go behind the scenes with capturing some stories of some of the singers.
Mhm.
And so the people are really enjoying it, and it's relatable. And they didn't really focus on the choir. I don't know if that's to come, but they focused on the individuals in the beginning of the process. And so it is really, like I said, they're great people. So the people there are genuine,
Mhm.
and you will really enjoy it. And people are responding and texting me, and I
Right.
saw you, or this is a great show. And so, like I said, it's enjoyable. But
Mhm.
you can see me episodes 3 through 6.
3 to 6.
pour me in the crowd.
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it. That's so exciting. That is so exciting. So, and how can people, get your albums and your singles and all of that? How can they get people, so they can keep up with you and see what you're doing?
Sure. I am on Facebook, Anissa Stewart Music. I'm on Facebook, just straight up Anissa Stewart. Anissa Stewart Music on Instagram, Twitter, Anissa underscore
Mhm.
Stewart. So all Anissa Stewart. Just look me up. I'm there. My music is on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon. Please support because I'm still an independent artist,
Mhm.
and I am my own promotion. I have no team to back me up. Like I always say, God is my manager, and so He's my manager, but I got to do the legwork.
Right.
I got to do some of the work too. I got to help him out. So please support me. You can go, like I said, on those and download. And then if you would like a physical copy of the project, like I had shown, you can inbox me, and I will send it right out to you. My team, me and my team, we will send it right out to you. My husband is my team. He's
Right.
doing some right now. And that's the wonderful thing too. Someone saw, and I don't even really know who the person is, but they immediately was like, I saw you. Can I have 3 CDs? So I'm like, wow, that's what I was hoping would happen, is
Right.
just some exposure. My goal is just to get more people exposed to my music and who I am, and to get more opportunities to sing on different venues. That's what I really want. I'm not really after like a contract, and it would be nice. I mean,
Right.
I'm okay if I have to teach till I retire.
Right.
In the event that something else comes up, I'm open to that.
Awesome.
To that too.
I want to thank you so much for being a guest on Conversations
Thank
with
you.
Verdel Jones. I'm so proud of you. You are so talented and a songwriter also. I mean that, and they're beautiful. So again, I just want to thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So I want to thank everybody for watching Conversations with Verdel Jones, and I'll see you in a little bit.